Hey everyone, it's Sleepy Reader, and this is going to be my comic book thoughts on the comics I got from the comic book shop last Wednesday. So I'm going to do it, still keep doing it in the countdown for now. So I've only got 7 books this week. I think of 9 books as my ideal number for a week. Anyway, I had said I'm going to talk about music that I would read comic books to, but really what I'm thinking of is music that captures the feeling of that comic book. I might not actually want to read Batman Damned while listening to the soundtrack of Kawanasquatsi, which I find to be a very creepy soundtrack, but it feels like a match to me with the creepiness of the Lee Bermejo and Brian Azzarello weird supernatural Batman story. So make of that what you will. So I guess I'm really in this little game. I'm not seriously talking about music I would listen to while reading these books, so much as music that I match up with these books. I actually, when I do read with music, I listen to music that stays really nicely in the background and doesn't distract me at all. For instance, slack key guitar music or classical music or other stuff that has a repetitive flow to it. I guess, this Philip Glass music can be very repetitive, but it's very melancholy and dour to me. So, I only had 7 books. I would have liked a little more, but there you have it. One of them was a pretty long read anyway. I would say this is a week where everything fell pretty close to the middle. There was no super stinker. There was definitely... Things fell a little bit on the low side for me. Everything would have been, in a really good week, would have been kind of a middling book that I have here. It's interesting when it makes sense. When I get like 15, 13, 14 comics, I usually get more comics that really push my buttons. Partially that says to me that I still haven't perfected figuring out which comics I will like the best and buying those ones. So maybe you do have to spend a lot of money to find the comics you love sometimes, which is unfortunate. So, coming in at number 7 was Doctor Strange. I didn't hate this. This is still the story that's, I think, mostly done by Barry Kitson with some help by Mark Waid. They're listed as storytellers, so the layouts and the art are being done by Barry Kitson. His name is listed first, and then I presume they work together on the story, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty much all plotted by Kitson and then Waid comes in and tries to kind of clean things up, because it's a really cool idea. The Galactus in the magical realms and eating things up, and in this issue, slight spoiler, he eats, so you might want to skip this if you are about to read this comic. He eats Dormammu, and then the level of power he gains is overwhelming, and it looks like somehow through this combination of coming from the universe of science and the universe of magic, gaining both those powers, all of reality is going to become him or something like that. So Doctor Strange and his allies are trying to find people to team up with them. And he goes to various cosmic entities, all of whom Doctor Strange does, all of whom he says they can't help him. And then finally, still spoiling a little bit, he gathers pretty much a very large group of Marvel heroes to come help him. Now, why he didn't think of that in the first place, or if they don't stand a chance. Anyway, it doesn't make for a very exciting story to have someone just sort of go around and ask a lot of people to help them and have them say no. There's probably some way that it could have been enacted better. And as I've said before, this has a very old school, like just a slightly updated 1980s feeling to it. But yeah, so I don't hate it. I'm staying on Doctor Strange, but of the 7 comics I had, it ranked the lowest for me. I do love this cover, though. That is kind of cool. So in at number 6, I'd hope this would be a little higher, actually, because I usually love Ahoy comics, is this oddity in the Ahoy lineup, a one-shot comic called Steel Cage, in which 3 brand new stories enter and 1 has to exit as the winner. So it's quite a bargain in terms of amount of content. It's 36 pages of actual comics plus some text pages. 3 12-page stories by veteran writers, Stuart Moore, Mark Waid, and Tom Peyer. And you can go online to their website and vote. I don't even know which one to pick because none of them really rocked my boat. They were all okay. The one by Mark Waid was intriguing as a children's story about a boy who's rescued all these strange creatures from a cosmic circus, and he's taking them one by one back to their planets so that he's returning them all home. And he comes from Earth. He's missing his home too. He doesn't know where Earth is. His co-pilot's kind of an armadillo gorilla. So you can see how this is a nice setup for a series of adventures that might make a good kids graphic novel. But it didn't click very much with me. It seemed very cute and calculated in a way. And then there was another story. Of course, there was another story called Bright Boy. This one was by an artist who I've usually loved, but it just didn't seem very effective here, by the name of Peter Gross, because he worked on Lucifer, the original Lucifer series from Vertigo. He worked on The Unwritten from Vertigo, and did another. Those were both written by Mike Carey, and then did another series with Mike Carey, whose name is eluding me, but was kind of a European graphic novel style series. And all of those, I loved his artwork. But here, it's fine, but I don't feel like it's the right fit for him. And the story's about this mental super genius who can be brought in to solve problems, worldwide problems, but when he exerts his brain too much, kind of flashes of heat or energy come out of him and kill people who are nearby. So that's kind of an interesting story, but again, didn't click very deeply with me. I had the most fun, actually, so I suppose I should vote for it, but I still didn't think it was that good. This one called True Identity, which kind of there's the True Identity character. This guy is called Penultimate Man, and it played nicely with a variation on the Superman story. With a Clark Kent kind of situation. Instead of working on a newspaper, he works at the FBI, but he's kind of considered the coward at the FBI who never does anything, but he's actually Penultimate Man. And his origin, as revealed here, is kind of clever, but not super involving. Again, I'm not super involved, but I mean, as a longtime comic book fan, I enjoyed it as a kind of spoof and variation on the Superman story. I think it would make a good, 25 or 40 page story, and probably that's all it needs. So I don't think it needs a big long series. So anyway, that came in at number 6. I have to say, maybe because I had to decide which one was best and none of them really clicked with me, it made me rank the whole thing down lower than I might have. I do love Ahoy. Just holding this comic, it feels really good. And they gave me so many pages and everything. I'm glad I read it. Coming in at number 5 was a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur issue. I absolutely hate this cover. And I guess the next cover is going to be by the same artist. That one's a little better. But this 3D rendered kind of artwork really turns me off. Luckily, the interior art, while not by Natasha Bustos, if that was her name, is by Aletha Martinez, but it captures the same vibe as the regular artist on Moon Girl. And I've loved a lot of arcs of Moon Girl. These one-shots, we've gotten a bunch of one-shots now, are just not quite as good, which I'm sad to say because I love the idea of one-shots. But when they have a slightly more elaborate story, like the one with Ego the Living Planet, or the one where they go into the Land of Dream that lasts about 4 issues, those have been much more successful. The chance to really explore whimsy is cool. That said, this is a time travel story and maybe a time slip story where reality maybe is changing a little bit, where the most fun part is where Moon Girl gets to meet a Doctor Strange from the 1960s who doesn't know her and is kind of a slightly sillier character. So I'm certainly not sad I got this, but Moon Girl's not ranking quite as high as it used to, up at number 5. And number 4, now I have a real love-hate feeling for this comic. Let's start with, so this is the finale of Batman Damned. I really liked issue 1 and 2. But where this ended up going, I suspected we were in purgatory or hell. And although it's not defined, I think it's hell. Maybe it's purgatory. Because from a strictly Catholic point of view, as I was raised as a Catholic, once you're in hell, you can't leave. If you're in purgatory, you have the option of either going to heaven or hell someday. So I chose the Jim Lee cover. This is like one of my favorite Jim Lee covers I've ever seen, actually. This is really cool, so I couldn't resist it, even though it's now inconsistent with my other copies. But inside we get the regular cover would have been Lee Bermejo. Inside we get the amazing painted work by Lee Bermejo. I'm wondering if this is painted on physically or done digitally or some combination, because at times it's almost surreally, I don't know, 3D in a completely different way than the cover for Devil Dinosaur. Whoops, I'm having trouble orienting with the camera today. It's been a while since I've done a video straight from my computer. I've been using the iPad or the iPhone a lot. So yeah, the art is amazing. It's very creepy. If I just let go and say, okay, here's a surreal story of Batman in hell, but trying to parse what really happened, and then I start wondering, was Hellblazer really there? Was John Constantine really there? Was Zatanna really there? If we were in hell the whole time, or purgatory, was Deadman, Zatanna? I mean, it makes sense that the Demon and Jason Blood were there. Does Constantine go hang out in purgatory or hell that often? I guess occasionally he gets sent there and somehow escapes. So, and then, oh man, I'm gonna be spoilery. I think I usually do a good job of not spoiling things, but I'm gonna discuss the ending of this. So if you don't want to know anymore, come back after I put this down. It seems at the end, Batman is redeemed by deciding to let the Joker live. So Batman is dead and the Joker lives. How Batman can let him live when Batman's already dead and the Joker's already dead? And where does Batman go? Is he going now to heaven, to hell, to purgatory, back to Earth? I don't think he's going back to Earth. So I think in the final scene we have the Joker brought back to life in a world now without Batman. And it says that this is the beginning of another story. It's just the start of another one. Does that connect to the Joker graphic novel that they've already done, that Azzarello and Bermejo have already done? I assume not, because that was quite a while ago. I've never read it, so I don't know much about that. So I don't know if this connects up. But basically, Batman says he knew he was dying, and he had the choice to save Joker before Batman died. Batman had the choice to save the Joker before he himself died, and originally he let the Joker die. But now he's chosen He says, "I wish he were still alive." And then Batman ghosts away into a door in this hell version of a morgue. One thought that passed through my mind was even that the Batman's soul went into the Joker, infused the Joker, but that doesn't seem like what's happened. So yeah, basically, I don't get it. I am the dumb reader. I feel like a dumb reader. And I do sometimes find that there are stuff I don't get that other people totally figure out. So maybe in someone else's video, I'll find out what really happened in Batman Damned. So I rank it fairly high at number 4 because as a whole, I enjoyed the ride. I enjoyed the process of going through these Batman Damned stories. I think that about halfway through, though, I began to suspect I was not going to get any answers that satisfied me or any fuller picture of what's really going on. And there were more and more characters that I couldn't really identify. For instance, there's this mysterious figure that we keep seeing, and that, again, just so much confusion, actually. Did she, in real life, lure Bruce Wayne into the alley where his parents were killed? Or is this just in the hell version where he's reliving things? And we have kind of a seance where he sees the ghost of his younger self, and he implies that he actually got killed in the alley. So then is this all in his hellscape? Is the entire Batman story the story of the kid Bruce Wayne in hell or in purgatory? In which case, what was his redemption here? And what was the point of the whole idea that Thomas Wayne was being unfaithful to his mom and they were about to get divorced or at least separated? And why did the Swamp Thing show up here? Everything's become by the end of this book, everything's up in the air for me, and I just didn't understand very much. So yeah, despite that, it was my number 4 book. In at number 3 was Weatherman, the other book that makes me feel kind of stupid. There's a lot of, this is kind of a wacky comedy, post-apocalyptic, because Earth has been destroyed and there's just a certain amount of population left on Mars, on a terraformed Mars. And this guy apparently is the person who's, at least in a large part, to blame for Earth being destroyed. But he doesn't know it because he got a new personality stuck in his head. And so now some people want to get his old personality stuck back in his head so that they can find out where the rest of the conspirators were that destroyed Earth, because they're afraid they're going to destroy Mars. In this issue, we find out Earth isn't really destroyed yet. It's under quarantine. Large numbers of people on Earth have died, but there's still a few billion left who will die of this disease. And so the Martians, or whomever they are, all the rest of humanity out in space, have sort of cordoned off Earth, and if you try to escape, they'll shoot down your rocket ship. So that led me to believe that maybe there'll be more to find out. But we only had 6 issues of Volume 1, and now it's Volume 2, and I don't really see why. There's no one could pick up this issue and figure things out very much. And this series has been a huge amount of very violent action scenes, then some comedy, and then a lot of confusion about who all the characters are. And yet I really like it. Partially is the art by Nathan Fox and the coloring have really made it come alive. Who's the colorist? Moreno Dinzio, I think, unless Nathan Fox did his own coloring. Moreno Dicinio is the colorist. But, either I'm stupid or the writer should have put in a lot more to make clear who's who and what their motivations are and why they're doing things. But but this story, because it has that Philip K. Dick edge of someone whose identity isn't what it's supposed to be, and this vision of this future of humanity out in space and all that, it really pushes my buttons in a positive way, stuff that I like. So I ranked this book at number 3. But this kind of remains a series that I like and wish was even better than it is. But I'll stick with it. So in at number 2 was what I think is the ultimate finish of this storyline that's been in one way or another going on in Justice League Dark since issue 1, plus some crossover issues with Wonder Woman. And we kind of get both the final battle with the Lords of Order who have become evil, and Wonder Woman and allies have to embrace chaos to battle them. And that was very interesting. And as always with this series, this is like peak modern DC artwork, in my opinion. And great storytelling from the writer and the artists, because I think there's multiple artists that have been working on this. But they all seem to have a similar style and do a great job. And so yeah, this again, this issue by itself might seem like meaningless gibberish, but when it applies to the 12 issues plus that have come before, it is a pretty satisfying, explosive climax. My one hesitation is that what if they really aren't done and we're just going to continue? I would like a brand new story now, please. But what do they say at the end? Next, a new fate revealed. Well, yeah, so Dr. Fate has been kind of undone. Naboo, the Lord of Chaos, has been now re-trapped inside the helmet. So that's interesting. So the magic world of DC is in very good hands with James Tynion. And so I look forward to more new stories from this team. And I think they are continuing on from what I've seen in previews without changes of writer or artists. But now we have very much the statement, especially of Wonder Woman and her reason for embracing the world of dark magic and everything. So very satisfying. And in at number 1, a big surprise because I've been kind of down on Detective Comics to a degree, is the first issue of this new arc in Detective Comics, very similar to the Batman Damned and the Justice League Dark, because it's a Batman and Spectre team up. Although the Spectre is not really a member of a team, he's more like somebody who Batman is forced to deal with, and although he's the vengeance of God supposedly, his moral behavior is very questionable. So he's very Old Testament. Let's put it that way. I don't think he's been reading many of the sermons of Jesus, but he may be reading a lot of Sodom and Gomorrah and the plagues on Egypt and that kind of thing. So we get on here an artist that's totally new to me, or at least I don't recall his name. Where's the credits? The credits are on this incredible double. His name's Kyle Holst, and very good colors from David Barron. I love this double page spread, and I look forward to the rest of this arc just for the art alone. But Tomasi seems to be in his wheelhouse dealing with sort of Batman's morality versus the Spectre's morality. And together they're looking for Jim Corrigan, the human host to the Spectre. So, and there's apparently a whole bunch of fake Spectres out there. So very intriguing stuff, very fun to read. Maybe this will be, sort of the supernatural Batman story that makes sense, I hope, unlike the Batman Damned. I get a bit of a Kelly Jones vibe from this Holtz artwork. A little tighter than Kelly Jones, but yeah, let's see. I mean, Batman has the amazing impossible cape and slightly long ears, not quite as long as Kelly Jones. Anyway, very satisfying stuff. My number one book. So 2 DC books at the top. That's all for me today. Hope you're all well. I put out a video yesterday, so my usual rule of thumb is don't put out 2 videos in a row because they actually compete with each other and you get less views on them. Not that I'm like a slut for views, but when I make a video, I figure I might as well give it a little chance to get views. But my previous video apparently at first did not render very well, and the first 40 or 50 viewers of it got to see a kind of fuzzy version, but then eventually the higher resolution version showed up on YouTube. So, and that is where I look through previews and talk about my thoughts of what I'm going to get from the current previews catalog of stuff that'll be coming out in September. So anyway, talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.